Footnotes.
Footnotes. Coming to you from Chattanooga.
Footnotes, just a reminder, ministry of Cornerstone Apostolic Church, found online at cachattanooga.org.
That's right, and you can find us on all the other platforms. That is Facebook, Instagram, but we're not on...
Not on Snapchat and not on TikTok.
Not on TikTok, yeah.
So.
But what a great message this past Sunday. Pastor Sam did a great job. Just really knocked it out of the box.
He did. And before we get into discussing the message, I just want to let everybody out there know, we had our back to school prayer to open up service Sunday.
Yes.
And I just want to let everybody that would be tuning in know, just be reminded, if you are school age, whether that's elementary, middle, high, even into college, you work in a school system, you work for a college, for a university, for a campus, just know that Cornerstone Apostolic Church spent devoted and dedicated time to lift you up before God this past Sunday. And what a sweet spirit of God that came into the room as we prayed for our teachers, our homeschools, the homeschool co-op we do on our campus, and all the things related to students and what's happening at this time of year as they're transitioning from their summer life back to what all of us adults do in the real world. So back to work. So.
Yes, back to work, and all of our kids. We have really seen things happen with our kids, and so thankful for what God is doing in our young people.
Yep. And then we got to Pastor Sam's message. Again, such a sweet spirit of God in the place on Sunday. But we got to the message from Pastor Sam on convenience or conviction.
That's right.
Convenience or conviction.
That's right.
He took some time and kind of broke down like what each of those would look like, convenience and, the readiness, the readily available aspects of convenience and versus what conviction means. Because a lot of times when people think of conviction, they think about, they think criminal offenses, it's all like heavy. Mm-hmm. And that's not the approach Pastor Sam took Sunday.
As a matter of fact, I mean, when you really feel led of God over something, that is your conviction, is that this is what I'm standing on. And I like the fact that he the character he used. I was really that one there, Samson. Oh my. Yeah.
Man, if ever there was a man that realized, looking back at the final stages of his life, that, he probably made some mistakes along the way, but, had the conviction to begin with, made some decisions based on convenience. But when it was all said and done, he knew where to come back to because of where he had built those convictions early on in his life.
Yeah. I think of David's life immediately. I started thinking of David's life and how that, David, I would say probably out of all the characters in the Bible, I really like David. He was a man of convictions, even though, he had his faults, he had his downfalls, he had all of those things that we are accustomed to. He had that. But he was so adamant about God that he would turn his face to God and say, God, it's me. I'm in, and so to have that kind of conviction and to hold on to, I think that drives me whenever I see that.
Yeah, and you think about David's story. The most commonly understood or most widely read story of David's downfall was the situation with Bathsheba. And you know what? Even after that, God said, this is what's going to happen. David prayed. And when he didn't get the prayer the way he wanted it,
right?
When it was all said and done, he stood up,
cleaned
him, dusted himself off, and still kept his feet grounded.
That's right.
In what he believed and what he understood, because he understood that no matter what he did and his choices with convenience and things like that, that eventually, when it all came down to it, the most important thing was that conviction he felt to no matter what happens,
Yeah.
I'm going to worship God.
Yeah.
I'm going to serve God. I'm going to praise God, even if I mess up, even if I make mistakes. There's that conviction. I mean, that's why he wrote Psalms. When he wrote Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When I go through all of these things, I'm still going to turn my eyes to Jesus.
And even, on the convenience side, I immediately think about the cart that they made for the ark.
Oh, yeah.
They're riding back because it's convenient.
Yeah.
Right. And David, being a man of conviction, I'm sure that bothered him when they put all this together. But they were just trying to get the presence of God back.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that we, as trying to get in God's presence, sometimes we can use convenience to get us there. And really and truly, God saying, no, that's not the way I want it done.
Yeah, I mean,
and we saw that
the depth was missing. The building upon the principles that had already been established, and that's why as they did that, like things started going wrong, and then they put it off in a dude's house along the way,
and he's blessed.
And, he's blessed because the presence of God is there. But then I think about his kids that grew up around this, and personally, like I've really been doing a study about our responsibility as the previous generation to the generation coming up. And the kids grew up around it. It became something they were just familiar with. It was convenient to them. I could imagine them playing hide and seek around it.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to move it again, when David said, you know what, it is time to get the presence of God back, they began to move it. And when they moved it, there was such a spirit of convenience that it lost its value as the presence of God. And I think Pastor Sam even mentioned that on Sunday when he was saying, that there's this idea of feeling the presence of God, but not truly understanding the presence of God. And so as these men, these kids, they had grown and spent their childhood around this thing, as it was coming back, it became a convenient thing. And you think about the motivation, like the Ark of the Covenant is stumbling.
Yeah.
And so his only idea is just to put his hand on it because it's convenient, and it lost its value and importance and that conviction understanding of what it was about and its purpose.
That's right. And then after all of that, David said, hold, time out. And he came back around to what his convictions would, if he would have followed his convictions from the very get-go. He would have found that hey, I'm a man of worship. I'm a man of principle. This is where we need to get. And so from that point on, he's leading those people back, and he's worshiping God the entire time.
Yeah, and it's really awesome. Like if you do a study of generations, like I wish we had time to go into that today, but I encourage you to take the time and do a study of generations, because David was one of those first generations that looked up and said, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord, because there had been a separation. So David had an understanding and that conviction because for so long he hadn't had access. And then he was given access. It's a great study. I encourage anybody listening, take the time and do that so that you truly understand why David was such an adamant person and so much conviction about worship and understanding the presence of God existed in David's life, so that he understood when those things happen. It's like, I didn't do this right. I've got to go back. I messed up here. I've got to go back to that conviction.
Yeah. And this, so bringing that back down to where we are today, just bringing it back into where we are today. How would you explain that to your child?
It's such a loaded element here. It really is. But the most important thing is, and as this generation, we can't shy away from it.
That's right.
We can't let the presence of God and the Spirit of God and the experiences in God become the little wooden box that lived at Dad's house.
Exactly.
But that it has this value, this thing that we put our convictions into, and we help our next generation to understand that all of those things. Pastor Sam said Sunday, he made the comment that there's a difference in a battle of convenience and a war of conviction.
My.
And I think it's important for us to look at that today, because when we're looking at that today, we've got to understand, like, convenience is easy. They're called convenience stores for a reason.
That's right.
Like, when you go just walk in, grab your bag of chips and a soda, and you can roll on. They're called that, as opposed to when you have to go to like a Food City or, a different type of grocery store. It takes a longer process. It's all about convenience. They're quick. A battle doesn't last more than 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
In most cases. There's exceptions in history, of course. But a war, when you look at it in a war concept, it's going to take time to build it. It's going to take time to lay the groundwork. So when we're talking about, and what Pastor Sam said Sunday, when he said, hey, look, we can win the battle in convenience.
Yeah.
Or we can fight a war of conviction.
Yeah.
Man, that just cut me deep, because, it's so easy to say, well, my kids are going to get what they need at church because it's convenient. My kids are going to get what they need when they go to camps because it's convenient. Yeah. My kids are going to get what they need in these scenarios because it's convenient. But if it's going to happen like we're supposed to make it happen biblically, and in God's direction for our life, it's got to be a war of conviction.
That's right.
In other words, that battle that they win in convenience, we've got to bring it back and say, okay, now where is this applying to the war, to understand, like, why is that important? Why do we value those things?
My principles, bringing that to the table for your children and those children that you are actually raising, those children you influence. So you're bringing, you can take them to McDonald's.
It's convenience.
We can get that burger and that fry, but when you take them into the kitchen, you pull out all of the things that go into it. I don't know. To me, there is something to value behind a good home cooked meal.
Oh yeah, especially when you're talking about hamburgers. I mean, I would rather do one on my Blackstone than I would,
right.
almost anywhere else.
And you value that. You value that, and that's why it's one of those things that has to be taught, because we don't want our children to grow up just taking things out of convenience. We want them to grow up knowing how to lay these principles out, how to make all of this blend together. And when it comes together, you say, that's what it was all about.
Yep, absolutely.
That's what it was all about. Oh, my.
Do you want a Taco Bell burrito, or would you rather have somebody that has gone through the tests and the trials to make this the right way, to make that burrito for you? That's why I love the ladies, some of the ladies in our church, that when it's time to do enchiladas and all that, like, man, I'm telling you what, I'd rather have theirs than I would at any other restaurant, because they've built it off of this. And I know we're talking about convenience or conviction, but the principle is that it takes time with conviction.
That's right.
So that when times come and the storm rages, it's conviction that will hold you to the ship.
Hold you tight.
Yeah, it's conviction that'll hold you to the ship. It's trusting God. It's being authentic and open with God, and understanding that there's this give and take relationship between us and God, and it's holding our ship together. And I'm getting into something else, but it's holding that ship together, and that's that conviction that kind of keeps us steady and tied to the mast when things get rough and the storm rages strong. Like, convenience is like, bye.
You can trust it.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
trust it. Yeah. Whereas the convenience side, maybe.
Yeah. You ever bought a burrito at one of those convenience stores?
Oh.
I just gave somebody PTSD flashbacks, I'm sure. You just don't do that. Right?
Where's the Pepto?
I don't trust them. I don't, for that same reason, because it's just convenient. But just because something is convenient doesn't mean it's the best scenario for us to be in.
So true. Oh my, what a message, and we can go and go and go with this, but I am just. Have you ever thought that in being around our young people, and we were just in a Q&A with our young people, and great questions come out of that. But one of those was, as an older person, and looking on the younger generation, do you feel that that you're judgmental of us? And I said, absolutely not. You know why? Is because I know where you are and what's being instilled in you. You know, I know what your teachers are teaching. I know what the pastors are teaching. I know what you're setting under. So I'm not going to sit here and judge you because I know there's something being put in you. And that's like we were just talking. Our children have to be taught the true meaning behind conviction. Behind conviction, what it's about.
Absolutely. What a word. What a word, man. Such a sweet presence
Yes.
of God
Yes.
moved into that room too.
Yes.
As all over the place, man, people were just on their face because this understanding of like we can have the momentary pleasures of convenience.
Yeah.
Or we can get in the depth of the presence of God for conviction. Man, what a word. Thank you for that, Pastor
yes.
Sam.
Yes, thank you, Pastor Sam. Oh, it's been great. And we encourage you, if you want to get in touch with us, go online, look at our website, drop us a note. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, cachattanooga.org. You can go there. You know, and I would like to see you in person, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find this one of the friendliest groups of people around. I guarantee it.
That's right. So. And we are so glad you were with us today. Look forward to seeing you next time here on Footnotes.